You're watching Satluj TV News. I'm Angus Scott in London. Life for the poor in India's capital is fast becoming unbearable for many. There has been no escape from Delhi's deadly smog that cloaks the city in a misty winter grey and chokes the lungs of its 30 million residents, making it one of the world's worst capitals for air quality. Levels of fine particulate matter, that's the cancer-causing microparticles known as PM2.5 pollutants, that enter the bloodstream through the lungs, often hit more than 30 times the World Health Organization's danger limits. So authorities asked people last month to work from home and limit time spent outside to protect themselves from the poisonous air. But the less well-off have no choice but to work or starve. Adjoining Old Delhi is the modern city created when building expanded exponentially early last century. New Delhi's affluent Gulmohar Park neighbourhood lies just 10 kilometres south of the old city walls. But it could be a different world, given how people there live and cope with the smog. Madhav Mathur, a keen long-distance runner born and brought up in Delhi, said he can no longer exercise outside during winter when pollution is at its worst.
Primary cause is pollution. That is the reason that I've stopped running outside. I kind of realize that it's harming me more than it's benefiting me. So the only times that I've checked the AQI levels inside the house is out of concern for my parents. They're old. I probably don't want them to be, breathing this air. But honestly, I tend not to check it for myself indoors because what is the alternative, right? I can't.
Experts say that those suffering the worst from air pollution are not only those least responsible for it, they are also the least able to cope.
Yes, there is a contrast in the air pollution impact across diverse socioeconomic ranges. Poor people cannot afford those personal mitigation measures, like even they cannot afford masks or purifier is completely out of reach. And that is why we should not rely on such kind of obviously those who can afford purifier are using it. But ultimately, if we have to really think about the entire population, we must cut down emissions. That's the only way.
Rickshaw drivers need to wear masks tight enough to keep pollution out. But this, of course, makes the hard work of pedalling too tough for them. Meanwhile, the better off acknowledge the privilege they have in being able to afford to escape the smog and sympathise with those who can't afford better air.
I'm very aware of my own privilege, and I'm aware that I think someone whose economic life is like synonymous with being outdoors, being outside, they can't afford that, right? They can't afford to be indoors, very simply. It's going to come to a halt, their economic life. So I think I do realize that they don't have an option, and I can sympathize as well. I'm pretty sure that I cannot empathize.
Prolonged exposure can trigger strokes, heart disease, lung cancer and other respiratory diseases. And the average city resident could die nearly 12 years earlier due to air pollution. Delhi's residents who can't afford to take personal measures to reduce the impact of pollution see it as just one more problem weighing them down. And as a result, it is once again the poor who are bearing the brunt of Delhi's problems. You've been watching Satluj TV News, and don't forget to click on that subscribe button to make sure you get to see stories as they're broadcast. And of course, if you have any comments or opinions on any of our news stories, you can comment below, or indeed drop us a direct message at message@satlujtv.com. We would love to hear from you. In the meantime, thanks for watching. For Satluj TV News, I'm Angus Scott in London.